Bonjour, everybody. Hi, this is Neshi Lokatz. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page here on Facebook and the morning card draw live stream with me. Good Monday. Good Monday. It's Monday, July 16th, and it is a beautiful day here. We really need the rain, but you know what? I love the sunshine. It is so pretty. Hey, Stephanie's here. Thank you for coming, Stephanie. And Patricia, Patty Heredia is here. Yay, Patty. I know you're a busy lady. You're probably listening to the audio, right? And Nellie's here too. Good morning, everybody. Isn't it it's a good Monday. You know why it's a good Monday? I do believe Mercury goes direct today. I have to check with Julie Hedges. I noticed as I had opened my laptop and had gotten Facebook up and doing all that. You know how you get those notifications? I noticed that Julie, I don't know if she's doing her live stream or finishing up her live stream, but I'm sure she's talking about Mercury retrograde, right? Going direct today. Yay. I honestly, that Mercury retrograde, usually at the very beginning or, like a day or two beforehand, I'll say a little prayer affirmation about welcoming all the blessings, the positive blessings from Mercury retrograde, and anything that is less than that, I just release and let go. And so I've never really had much difficulty around Mercury retrograde. Now, I'm not saying I don't feel the effects of it. I certainly do. But, what I do is I try to turn my direction, my focus to the positive stuff, and actually tap into the energy of the Mercury retrograde. So everything with redoing kind of stuff, remembering those kinds of things. And so, but I'm happy it's going direct. That's for sure. That's for sure. Hello, Mary. And hello, Stephanie. Sounded like her kiddo started the stream. Oh, I see. Okay. And hi, good morning, Elise. Yes. My sisters, two of them actually, three of them were supposed to be here out of the six of us. And one of them, Sharon wasn't feeling well. So, it's not fun when you're not feeling well to drive any distance. And she lives about 3 hours from me. And then, not knowing how well you're going to be once you get there, and being sick in somebody else's house, somebody else's space when you're not feeling well, that's no fun. And so we just agreed, stay home and take care of yourself. And so that's what she did. So we had two people here, two ladies, and it was fun, laugh, talk a lot. We did journey work. We made meals together, and they got to visit with Mom, and Paul was here for the weekend, so he was kind of our support. He was doing the grilling and that kind of stuff. So it was fun. Thank you for asking, Elise. Yeah, the last sister left this morning around 8, as she heads southwest of here, Iowa, and so she'll be getting home probably around 2. And so it was, when you're around people who you love and they love you and unconditionally, or as close to possible as to that, because we're human. Of course we kind of have friction every once in a while, but to be able to sit down and talk about it and grow from it, right? Yeah. So it's always nice to have them here and laughing and finding out new stuff, how to do something differently, or what we did was Paul and I have never done anything with Netflix ever. And so, oh my gosh, now we have a Netflix membership. Jeez. But you know what? Frankie and Grace is pretty good, I have to admit. So anyway, yes, it was a really great weekend, and to be able to do some sacred work at the same time, and to be able to sit down and chat and talk and get caught up in person. We do a once a month call, Skype call. So we actually see each other on the Skype, but there's nothing like having that in person energy field around us, and it's fun. We try to do this once a year. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for asking. I appreciate it. And even the card today actually kind of dovetails with this past weekend, because it's a card that we've gotten before, of course. But there's a little bit of a different nuance to the first time we had the card. The first time we got this card, I explained about how we use this tool, the sacred tool, and this is the talking stick that came out this morning from my spiritual team. It's about viewpoints and options, and the talking stick is a sacred tool that it's usually used in groups, large groups of people, not just a handful, but a large group of people, to make sure that everyone's voice and point of view is heard, even though we may not agree with their point of view. It's everyone's point of view is sacred. And you can go ahead and disagree with it, but you know what the most important thing is that we listen, because whoever has the stick can say their piece without interruption. All right, so nobody's stopping you to ask you questions, or nobody contradicting you or anything like that. And so you get to say your piece, and those that are around you are listening. They're listening, and hopefully attentive listening, because there's, even though you might not agree with them, they might have a point that you didn't consider before, that their perspective might be delivered differently. And so you have the opportunity to say, I don't know, I hadn't thought about that one or that side of it, and so it gives you an opportunity to take in that information, and before making final decisions or anything like that you take some time to really consider that point of view. Yeah. So it's really about having a conversation that is very respectful. I think that's a good word, respectful. Yeah. Elise said, this is the best show and going into the 5th season. I know. I just found out about Frankie and Grace. So we watched from episode 1, the first season, episode 1. And so I think we're on episode 5, I think. Anyway, I've got a lot to catch up on, and I can tell you what, I can see why it's addictive, that Netflix stuff. It's like, and there's no commercials, Yeah. And Patty's saying, Frankie and Grace, one of my faves. I can understand why, Patty. Oh my God, laugh, cry. It's hilarious and irreverent. And Lily Tomlin, I just love her. And she is a good actress, I like it. Good morning, Mary. Good morning. And Lily is 78 and Jane is 80. I know. Yeah, and they tell their real age, or pretty close to their real age. I think Jane said that she was in her 70s, I think, her character. But yeah, it's fabulous. And when I take a break and have a little bit of a downtime, that's what I'm going to be doing, is watching and getting caught up on Frankie and Grace. My BFF from my grade school days and high school days and my adult years, Marley's my bookkeeper now too. She's been a bookkeeper for, I don't know, 20 something years, but anyway, she's doing my books now, and so we get to see each other more often in person. But she's the first one who told me about Frankie and Grace, and I think that was in, I don't know, February, I think. No, April. And so she had her laptop, and so we watched the first episode together of that, the first episode of the first season together. And yeah, it's hilarious. I love it. Love it. So back to the card, the talking stick. What's interesting about this card and the essence about the talking stick is it really is about having a conversation where you're respectful enough to listen to the other person's point of view and what they have to say without interrupting them. And having a conversation. This is actually a very good tool when you have more than just a couple of people, but more importantly, it's a good tool, even if you don't have the physical stick, is to know the essence or the qualities of that, because not all of us grew up in a Native American culture. And so you may not have ever heard the term talking stick before, or maybe you did, because a lot of the New Age groups early on, like in the 70s and early 80s, they used this method and they talked about it quite a bit. But the talking stick is really about respect and listening to the other person's sacred point of view. And why is it sacred? Even though we might disagree with them. And this is my 2 cents on it, okay, is that the reason why it's sacred is because they're using their voice. They're using their voice and the breath behind the words. And we all know that the creator, whatever you call that entity of divineness, gave us our breath, right? And so everything that we say has our breath with it or behind it. And it, crown chakra, and we have the sacredness of that breath that the creator gave us behind our words. And so that's why it's important for us to use and select our words wisely, even though we may have emotion behind it, because they're sacred. And that's what makes it a sacred point of view, even though, good morning, Jocelyn, even though you may disagree with them, you could vehemently disagree their point of view. In the case of politics, because that's really, that is the craziness out there these days. And it's splitting family members, and it's splitting up communities, and it's taken such a divisiveness, right? And I suppose it always has to a certain extent, but it seems more in today's energy field than I can remember. And so the ability, and some of that also has to go with your soul's maturity, how much you've grown, because you could have linear maturity. You could be, somebody that is maybe 30, 40, 50, 60 and on up. Doesn't mean that you have wisdom. You have experience maybe, but maybe you're not as mature, right? You can have soul maturity. You can be an old soul. You can have emotional maturity and be young in their teens, So it's not really your chronological age. And so when you have a degree of maturity in your emotions and with your soul and mental maturity, you can sit and listen to someone's opposite point of view and take it in and maybe learn a little bit something about them or about their perspective, or maybe they presented it in a way that I didn't hear it that way before. So you get another side of it, right? Another facet of it. Yeah. It's hard though. It's hard, especially when it is about politics. Paul Krause and I, Paul's show is tonight at 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern. And he wanted to talk about politics and the divisiveness, and actually social divisiveness. And so he was looking for a guest, and so he contacted me and asked me if I would go on his show with him tonight as a guest. And so I get to be a guest. I get to be asked questions. Sit on the other side of the table. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about that tonight. That's why I think this card, having it come to us this morning, is very interesting. And so watching and seeing how the energy unfolds today, knowing that we're going to be talking about this tonight again, and from Paul's point of view, and adding to what I can to the conversation. So, the talking stick, when Jamie Sams talks about the talking stick, about how our ancestors, when they would use this in large groups, because even today in Native American tribal organizations, where if you're an enrolled member of a nation, we vote for our government officials, and we have what's called general council a couple times a year. And general council is when as many tribal members as possible meet. And sometimes it's hard to make quorum, which is like, I think, 65 people in my nation, Potawatomi, Prairie Band. And sometimes it's hard to make quorum. But with other times, we could have a few hundred people there, depending on what the topics that are going to be discussed. And the general council gets to, the membership gets to vote on certain things to be able to direct our elected officials, right? And let me tell you, some of those conversations can get quite heated. And having, but in those governmental gatherings, the talking stick is more of a traditional tool to use. In modern day, our elected officials are much like they're fashioned after the U.S. government, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. It depends on what side you're standing on. And so you have Robert's rules that take precedence. I prefer this. Why? Is because it's pretty simple. If you are the facilitator of the talking stick circle, as a facilitator, you just make sure that everybody and anybody that wants to hear or wants to have their say, they receive the stick, and you just make sure that nobody is going to interrupt them. It's like, being able to be kind about it and setting those boundaries, and stating that these are the very, very simple rules. Right. And so as a facilitator, it's your responsibility to make sure that everyone who has something to say has the opportunity to have their say. Yeah. And generally there's no talking. There's no other person talking while the person who has the talking stick. And so everyone is listening. They might not be looking at the person who's talking, but they're listening. And yeah, so it's interesting. Has anybody, good morning, Jocelyn. Has anybody in the live chat, have you ever had the opportunity to experience the talking stick in a talking stick circle? And sometimes the circle is more of like an amoeba. It's not a perfect circle. Sometimes you have the first row might be the perfect circle, but the people behind may not be actually standing in a complete designated circle. Sometimes you could have several people deep from that first group of people in a circle. So I want to share with you just a little bit about what Jamie Sams had to say about the talking stick that kind of jumped out at me. She says the talking stick is the tool that teaches each of us to honor the sacred point of view of every living creature. In counsel, we listen to the wisdom and teachings of others. We can broaden our understanding and relate in a new manner to others. And I know that that's an ideal. That's something to strive for in all of our conversations, not just the talking circle conversation. For instance, for this weekend, when my sisters and I sat around the dining room table, and having a chat and talking about all kinds of stuff, that we each took a turn. Now, were there questions? Sure, there was questions. Was there interruptions? Occasionally. But more importantly, we sat and we listened to the other sister, and gave her our full attention. Yeah, and so having the ability to honor that other person's point of view. Yeah. So Motto is saying, yes, have experience using a talking stick. Yay. And Jocelyn said, yes, several times in a drum circle. Good. She said she also made her own talking stick. Oh, we're going to talk about that in just a second. Yay. So you can chime in when you need to, okay, Jocelyn? And Mary's saying I'm thinking of making one for my granddaughter. Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna talk about that. Lisa's saying, how do you make one? Yeah, we're gonna talk about that in just a second. Mary's replying to her, however you want. That's true. With any other project or when you're going to make something, right? You want to set your intention. Why do you want the talking stick? What kind of talking stick is it going to be? Because there's different sticks for different groups. All right. So, for instance, if you had, let's say it was a women's group, and you wanted to have a talking stick within that women's group, you might want to select a tree branch that has more feminine qualities to it, like a willow, or so I can't remember which evergreen this is, but they've got the their branches are kind of bowed. They have a more graceful quality about them than like a jack pine. Okay, so you do want to look, if you want to have your intention set for which group and what you'd like the talking stick to be able to do for that group, to set that intention, and select a tree, the medicine or the spirit of the tree, to help support that, right? And really, you're just using a branch, and you can, if you need to take splinters off or something like that, so that it's a little bit more, I don't know. You could be covering it too, parts of it. You can. I know that some people, I think Nellie's in the chat, is that I remember seeing. I don't remember what they're called in the Druid sense, but he put ograms on it, which are it's an old language used by the Druids, and so he used that on that stick. You can select colors that you want to use on it, to put lacing on it, to string beads on it, or feathers. So, with intention, for you, what would be the colors for a certain group that you might want to make it for? If you're making it for yourself, for I don't know, other conversations that you might have with other people, you want to have a clear intention, like you do with anything else, because you're using the medicine of the tree. You're using the medicine of any of the colors that you might be selecting. You may want to put other things on there. Some people put like rabbit fur on, and so you can do that. How long are they? It depends. You could have at least 6 inches. Some people do a little bit bigger. You don't want anything really small. I wouldn't do anything like 2 or 3 inches, but I would do something probably more than 6 or more. It's a good size. Why? Because you want to make sure that the person who has the stick, it reaches their mental mind. The size does matter. Yeah. And Mary's saying children don't always feel heard. Yes, that's true. And in many indigenous cultures who use the talking stick in a traditional way, actually start the children very young in using the talking stick. In modern day, if you have a children's group of one kind or another, I think it would be nice to introduce the essence of the talking stick to them. It really does teach them about taking the opportunity when you have it in front of you to use your voice, right? And also to have that respect when someone else is speaking, that you're listening, that you're really listening to them. Okay. I think it's a good thing. Jocelyn is saying also for medicine. For medicine. Yes. Yes. She says that she put deer fur and horse hair on hers. Yes, and you want to. That's why you want to set your intention of what is the stick going to be used for and why. So that when you make the selections of the fur, you're actually adding the medicine of that animal to the stick. So you're layering medicine. That's going to be coming through the stick, and through the person who's speaking. And you want to make sure that your group knows the intention of the stick and the qualities of it. So you want to share with them about, the tree that you chose and why. You want to tell them about the colors you chose and why. Those kinds of things, so that they have an appreciation and understanding of the medicine of the stick that you're using, the talking stick. Yeah. In fact, there was one piece in here that Jamie Sams wrote that kind of jumped out at me when it comes to making a stick. She wrote, you can make talking sticks to cover different topics as well, not just groups, but different topics. And so she uses an example here. She says, if an illness of heart, mind, spirit, or body has affected the group gathered, sometimes snakeskin may be wrapped around the talking stick so that healing and transmuting of those poisons can occur. So using the medicine of the snake on the talking stick can be a very healing process, because it's about transmutation, using the toxins to transmute them. Yeah. And she also gives examples of owl. Now, there's a lot of indigenous nations that have a fear kind of based. I'm going to say fear because I see it in my mom. I see it in a lot of elderly Native Americans here, is about the owl. There's some fear to it because the owl in many cultures is a harbinger of death. In other words, if you see an owl, somebody is meant to die, right? And so a lot of people don't use owl medicine if they can help it. But owl medicine can be very good on a talking stick. Why? Is because here's what Jamie Sams writes. She says, owl was good medicine. Okay, the owl feather may also be used to stop deception from entering the sacred space of the council. So you may want to put an owl feather on your talking stick. It helps people also to discern about the truth, about what's being told. You can, some of this stuff you have to really be careful about. I was going to say you can put an eagle feather on there too. But as we all know, there's the eagle feathers are and so are owl actually, protected. I know that Jamie Sams writes about the truth in here, is that when you have a talking stick, part of the essence of having the talking stick is that the person is not only speaking for their mind, but they're also speaking their heart. And so the talking stick essence is also about speaking the truth. But, as humans, sometimes that doesn't happen. And I know, let's see. thought I wrote, she wrote something about that, and I highlighted it, but I don't quite see it. One more page. Maybe it's on this one. Nope. So anyway, she wrote a piece about speaking the truth. You know, and that's a whole probably another whole show is about speaking the truth. It's speaking your truth. And for the listener is when you're listening is discerning if that person is speaking the truth, right? Because we can feel it. We can feel it. We might not be able to actually hear it as a non-truth or a truth, depending on the situation. But in your body, many times, if you're attuned to your body, you can feel it to help you discern what's the truth and what's not. If you're good at, if you're an empath, you certainly can feel it. The eyes, the windows to the soul, many times, not always, you can see it in the person's eyes, the truth or the non-truth, right? But with a talking stick, you can certainly use certain medicines from our relatives, our animal relatives, to have the truth be told. Yeah. Nellie says, I love owls. You know, so do I, actually. My birth totem is an owl. But I grew up in a culture that was really actually, yeah, fear-based. There is a phrase in Ho-Chunk, and I don't know it in Potawatomi, but it's Hampokska. Hampokska. Hampok is the owl, and ska is a color. And when it's used that way, it's white. So that's white owl, Hampokska. And so a lot of times you'll just hear the word Hampok, and you can see that they're not comfortable with it. They won't look at pictures that have owls in it. I've known people to not buy artwork because there's an owl in it. So I think it depends on the culture that you're a part of, right? Mosquito. The medicine of a mosquito. Where's Stephanie? Stephanie, do me a favor and look up mosquito, okay? I know that you did that the other day for us I don't remember, was it hummingbird? No, it wasn't hummingbird. I forget. It was a bird that you looked up for us. If you can, I know that you're busy too, listening, doing other things at the same time. But if you can, look up mosquito for me, would you? I didn't kill him. I just kind of pushed him away. So talking stick. And what I'm going to do is read the application part, because it's important that the intention for the card every morning is to know about an energy that's important for us today to notice, to know about, right? And so we can watch how our day unfolds and how that appears to us. And I like to say, sometimes we're just a witness. We're witnessing something happen with the essence of this card. Or maybe we're a direct participant in it. Either way, we're learning something, adding something to our experience. So here we go. Here's the talking stick. It reminds us of the validity of other points of view and teaches us how to listen and apply what we hear. If talking stick has appeared in the spread for you, you are probably not allowing yourself any options in your present situation, or have become too stuck on one idea to see any further than your self-created tunnel. Open up and listen to the opportunities. Remember, all life signals and options are available to those who will hear. Those who are all here. We kind of talked about this a bit this weekend. We were talking about, our significant others in our lives. And sometimes we're not attentive when they're talking, it's like I'll be working on something and Paul's saying something to me and it's like, oh yeah, but I'm not listening. And so I stop and I say, wait a minute, what did you just say? So I literally have to close the lid of the computer or put down what I was working on and actually turn and listen to him, right? But I shared something that, how many people in the chat know about human design? It's a healing method, methodology, human design. I had given Paul a birthday gift, or maybe it was a Christmas gift, several years ago. It was a session, human design session with my good friend Tammy Gullen, and so Tammy did Paul's human design and sent him the report, and then did a call. And they were talking. I sat in, and because Paul wanted me to hear it. And so anyway, Tammy was explaining Paul's human design. And within human design, it also covers the aspect of how we bring information in, and then how do we express our information, right? So it's communication. And Paul's a Gemini. And so anyway, he was listening, and there's something Tammy did for us that I wasn't expecting. She took my human design, which she had done a few years before, and put it next to Paul's and said, okay, here is a something that you want to keep in mind, is that they're in our chakra systems, and we have chakras all over our bodies, right? In human design, they're called gates. And you either have an open gate or you have a defined gate. And Paul his ajna, or third eye, is open, which means that there's a lot of information that comes in, a lot. And so sometimes it's hard for him to select which information to use, because there's so many, and a lot of them, and many of the options or communications are really good. So how do you narrow it down, right? So what's helpful is to have someone who has a defined gate, in this case a defined ajna, which is me, to help kind of bring it in. And so you have your options that are easier to select from. And many times it's easier discerning those options. And so you didn't know that before. And so many of you know how when you're working a 9 to 5, and you only have a limited time on the weekends or weeknights or something like that to get things done around your home, right? And we were renovating a home during one time frame, and to capitalize on the time that we had available, we would go take our list and go and work on different projects within the house to get twice as much done, right? Well, I tell you, every little while he would be calling my birth name. Yvette, can you come here a minute? Yvette, come here. It's like, and he'd interrupt what I was doing, So I'd get started and I'd have to stop. I'd start and stop, start and stop. And that's just an example. And I would go and look and see, and he'd explain what he was doing, and as I'm standing there, goes, what would really be good is, and then he'd select, right? All right. So then years later, we find out why. So it was, if we're going to use our time really well and to work on multiple projects, we've learned that we select the part of the house or whatever we're working on that I am in his energy field. All right. I don't have to say anything. I just have to be there. And it helps him to narrow things down with his ajna. Yeah. My only gate that I have open is my throat. And so I have lots of different ways that I express something with my speech, with my vocal, right? And so I've had to learn over the years how to discern what needs to be said, and that's where my spiritual team comes in. I actually have a few people, a few spirits that help me with that. But that is just another tangent of communication and the talking stick, the essence of it. And so when you look at your day to day, and how communication comes in, and isn't it interesting that we're Mercury is going direct today, and we're talking about communication. Yeah. Stephanie is saying, mosquito is one of my totems. It is. Don't meddle in other people's affairs is usually the first meaning. Okay. To receive, you must first give. Okay. Cooperation is crucial for survival. Life is temporary, especially the things that bother you. Protect yourself and those you love. I lost it. Protect yourself from those who wish to undermine you. There you go. Mosquito medicine is about having high ideals and the constant reevaluation of self and others, persistent, opportunistic, and unafraid of managing, bossing, leading others. You're very good at poking others just at the right place to help them grow. There's so many in there that could be a very strong possibility. Because, the talking stick, some of it has to do with leadership. Because the person who is the steward of the stick, let's put it that way, is the leader of that talking circle that's using the talking stick, right? And so there is a piece of leadership with that, and knowing how to facilitate so that everyone's point of view, everyone's voice is heard. And to be able to intervene is a good word. To intervene when need be, if somebody is not allowing the person with the stick to finish what they have to say, right? Yeah. Thank you, Stephanie. That is so very helpful. I appreciate that. And the fact that it's one of your totems, so you know this pretty well, then I would imagine. And if you could also add in the comments, Stephanie, the resource that you used, because I know you did that the other day too, and that was so helpful. It really was, because some people are looking for a good resource when it comes to this, especially online, because there's so many, right? All right, so the second half of this is about our animal relatives. And when I do this piece for the card draw, is I'm asking my team to please show me the animal relative who can help us to understand with clarity and depth the essence of the card that we drew, and in this case, the talking stick, right? And so, which animal relative can help us to see it, the essence of the talking stick card more clearly and with more depth? And this is who showed up, right? The snake medicine. Yep. And look at that. The artwork on these cards are something else, isn't it? Yeah. So when I saw this, the card for the snake medicine on it, how does that work with the talking stick? And then I reread the information about the talking stick and how Jamie Sams writes about the snake skin, and how putting the snake medicine on the stick can actually help dispel the lies, actually, right? It was transmuting toxins. That's it, transmuting toxins. So the snake medicine is about transmutation. She says that it's a very rare medicine to carry. She says that their initiation for this totem or power animal is experiencing and living through multiple snake bites, which allows them to transmute all poisons be they mental, physical, spiritual, or emotional. So technically, it's not necessarily a physical snake bite, but it could be the energetic, right? The energetic. She says the power of the snake medicine is the power of creation, for it embodies sexuality, psychic, alchemy, reproduction, and ascension. She goes on to say that the shedding of the snake skin is about the life, death, and rebirth cycle. It is the energy of wholeness, cosmic consciousness, and the ability to experience anything willingly and without resistance. Yeah, without resistance. It is the knowledge that all things are equal in creation, and that actually there is a ascended master who is connected to snake medicine, and that's Thoth. Thoth has he also came back as Hermes, and with Hermes is the caduceus, right? The medicine of the doctor's symbol. It's got the two snakes intertwined over a sword, and it's about alchemy. And Thoth was from Atlantis, an Atlantean, and so that it represents healing when it comes through Hermes. This medicine teaches you on a personal level that you are a universal being. Through accepting all aspects of your life, you can bring about transmutation from the fire medicine. The fire energy, when functioning on a material plane, creates passion, desire, procreation, and physical vitality. So the element of fire is associated with snake because of the transmutation and the alchemy. All right. When it's on the emotional plane, it's about ambition, creation, resolution, and dreams. In the mental state, it's intellectual, power, charisma, and leadership. There's that leadership thing again. On the spiritual plane, it becomes wisdom, understanding, wholeness, and connection to the Great Spirit. She says that if this card comes up, that there's a need within you to transmute some thought, action, or desire so that the wholeness can be achieved. Actually, snake medicine is kind of a big medicine to carry. Yeah. She says that to remember magic is more than a change is no more than a change in consciousness. Become the magician or the enchantress. Transmute the energy and accept the power of the fire. Yeah. She just goes on to say that feel snake's rhythm and you'll dance freely, incorporating those transmuting forces of the universe as part of your sensual dance of power. So when you combine this card with the talking stick, that the meaning of the energy is about transmutation. It's using the conversation, using the energy of the talking stick essence to transmute. So if you're listening to someone and they say something that is, you hadn't considered that perspective. Maybe you didn't even know it existed. Or maybe they tell you something that you've heard before, but said in a different way. So now it has a little bit deeper meaning, or possibly even a different meaning for you. Does that make sense? I thought it did. And especially when we're talking about the political realm, and how these two cards could help us in today's vibration, right? And think about it. Where is 45 right now? Who is he talking to? I tell you what, We got to watch how today's energy unfolds. Could be interesting. Stephanie is saying the Virgin Mary is also associated with snake medicine in the voodoo and voodoo mythos. Yes, that's true. Very, very true. In snake medicine, from a native point of view, snake gets kind of a bad reputation from from different cultures, different belief systems. But in a traditional Native American belief system, snake medicine is very powerful, used quite a bit. In the Southwest, it's used to call the rain. Yeah, and the tracks that they leave in the sand. It's fascinating information about snake medicine. It is like all medicines; they need to be respected, and in some medicines, that respect has to be thorough. And snake medicine is one of them. The other one, I believe, is the eagle medicine is because of the power behind the eagle. It has a lot of respect too, and so. Thank you for that information, Stephanie. That's very helpful. So let me read the poem about the snake, okay? Because it's very interesting. Listen and see what you feel about it, okay? This is what Jamie Sam's poem. She's a great poet, I think. She says, "Snake, come crawling. There's fire in your eyes. Bite me, excite me. I'll learn to realize the poison's transmuted brings eternal flame. Open me to heaven to heal me again." Yeah, it's got to read between those lines. I'm going to say it one more time, okay, because it's short. Snake, come crawling. There's fire in your eyes. Bite me, excite me. I'll learn to realize the poison transmuted brings eternal flame. Open me to heaven to heal me again. And when you combine that with the talking stick card, how many times have you had a conversation with somebody or with, many somebodies, and you went in with a heavy heart, and you leave the conversation feeling better. Why? Because maybe you expressed yourself and the people there were actually listening. Sometimes that's all it takes. Motto says, snake is also about relying on our other senses besides sight. As when the snake is shedding their skin, their sight becomes cloudy and poor, so it must depend on other senses to survive. Yeah, that's a good point. Really good point, Motto, because when we combine it with the essence of the talking stick, when we're listening, we're not necessarily, we're listening with all of our senses, right? As best we can. So we're taking in the information that's being shared, being said, in many, many different ways. The vibration, the frequency of the person, the frequency of the words that they choose. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Love that. Brings it to another understanding, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay, I just have one more, and because this guy showed up too. Mountain lion. And that mountain lion is about leadership. And we've talked about this a little bit. And that mosquito showed up too. That's why the leadership thing kind of jumped out at me. Because of the card, the mountain lion card. Here she talks about the mountain lion. You could become the perfect justification for the insecurities of others. In other words, when sometimes when we're in a group, and how does that card go along with a talking stick, right? Sometimes with the talking stick, in that conversation, depending on what it's about, many times the topic or the reason why something came up that has to be talked about and decided on, sometimes there's people who get blamed for something, right? And they're kind of like the scapegoat kind of thing. And so it's this card has to do with that. She says that mountain lion medicine involves lessons on the use of power in leadership. The use and abuse of power in a position of influence are part of the great cat medicine. You learn how to balance power, intention, physical strength, and grace, to balance the body, mind, and spirit. You may be asked to review the purpose behind your personal beliefs. And see, and that's where sometimes the person carrying the mountain cat medicine, or that's coming up, because you're using your voice and talking about it, sometimes that leader, if that's the leader, they get blamed for something, right? And so they're usually they're very willing to carry that, so that the information that comes out can prove that they weren't doing that. Yeah, it's kind of, it made me think about the political realm again, that abuse or misuse of power. Is that, what did she say here? The mountain lion medicine involves lessons on the use of power in leadership. The use and abuse of power in a position of influence are part of the great cat's medicine. In assuming the place of power that mountain lion affords, you must constantly be aware of keeping peace. The first responsibility of leadership is to tell the truth. Know it and live it, and your example will filter down to the tiniest cub in your pride. Responsibility is no more than the ability to respond to any situation. So truth. That's the second time that's come up. So, and I'm really getting, I think, that these cards are letting us know about the energy that's flowing today as Mercury goes direct, as world leaderships are meeting, with in many different ways. And the part of the snake medicine was about universal cosmic energy. So I think it would be advantageous, and also for the highest good of everybody, is that we just are aware of how the energy unfolds today. How does it flow? Right? To watch it, be the witness of it. And if you're a direct participant of it, is keep in mind the essence of the talking stick, Yeah. So, what I say almost every day is, please take what resonated with you and see how it unfolds for you today. If there is anything that didn't resonate with you and you're thinking, what did she mean by that? That's okay. Just let that one go and pull your focus, your energy on what did resonate with you, and see how that feels and how it unfolds for you. And please, if you're available, join Paul Krause and I at 8 p.m. Eastern for the Paul Krause Show, and you can find that show on his fan page, the Paul Krause Show. And then I have to dash down the Star Nations Radio Network hallway, the cyber hallway, because I'm going to be producing Julie Hedges' show, The Tarot Journey, right after Paul's show. And I think you're going to enjoy that one, because Julie is on vacation, but she is doing her show, and she's doing it from the beach. Yes, in Florida. And she's going to be doing card draws for us for the entire hour. So if you're looking for some insight, some information from tarot, from that ancient language, join Julie for her show and request a card, because she'll pull one for you. Okay. All right. And then tomorrow is my show, Communications from Home, and we're talking about our gifts again. Why? Because I got something new to show you. All right. So with that, thank you so much for being here with me today, and enjoy the rest of your Monday. And let me know. This is an interesting energy today in the cards and how it's going to unfold. So if you have anything you'd like to share, please put it in the comments anytime, today, tomorrow. Okay, and we'll see how things go. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bama Mina. We will see you again tomorrow.